Hello, UC San Diego students. My name is Alex Elle, and I am facilitating a mini self-care writing practice for you. It's my honor to be able to help you bring yourself and your voice closer via writing and putting your thoughts and intentions on the page. I am an author, a mother, a wife, and someone who is extremely passionate about helping folks find their way and their truth without shame through writing practice. I hope that you enjoy our mini session together. Grab your journal, get comfortable, welcome. It is so nice to be sharing this virtual space with you. I know there is so much happening in the world, and I just want to let you know that I am wishing you feelings of ease and peace and joy and abundance. Even though this collective grief is among us, I am a strong believer that collective healing is also a possibility. And I invite you to lean into your self-care practice so that you can show up in your communities full, abundant, and with ease. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy this writing practice centered around intention setting and making time for self-care. Take care. UC San Diego students, welcome to Showing Up Fully in Our Intentions, a Making Time for Self-Care writing practice. As mentioned in the intro video, my name is Alex Elle. I'm an author and self-care facilitator who is passionate about bringing people closer to their voice by way of writing practice. Thank you so much for being here, sharing space, and being willing to explore your feelings and thoughts around self-care and intention setting on the page with me. So I like to begin these writing practices with some gentle reminders as we move through what it feels like and looks like to explore our voices, feelings, and everything else in between on the page. So here we have a Let Us Always Remember section, and I just want you to read along with me. Of course, jot these down in your journal because you should have those alongside you during this time together. And also just kind of listen as I read around what I would love us to remember during our time together. You are worthy of your own time. I know that that might sound super cliche, but it's the truth. And the reason why I believe in being worthy of our own time is because so often we are showing up for others in our communities, in our relationships, etc., and then kind of putting ourselves on the back burner, taking ourselves from the top of our list and putting ourselves on the bottom. Or maybe we've always been at the bottom and we don't think that we are really deserving of the time that we give others, but we are. And I really want you guys to carry that with you during this writing practice and onward. Next, you are deserving of the love and care that you give to others. And that loops in and works in tandem with you are worthy of your own time. Yes, I think it's amazing that we show up in our relationships fully engulfed in loving folks and taking care of them, listening to them, and everything else in between. But I think it's really important, specifically for those of us who are busy with school and work and balancing our goals, right? And our budding careers and our volunteer work, to remember that you also are deserving of your own love and to take care of yourself. We cannot show up in our spaces abundant and full and intentional if we are depleted. So please carry that with you. Make sure you write that down in your journal or maybe even on a sticky note and keep it somewhere you can see it because it is extremely valuable and important to lean on, especially in moments of overwhelm and adversity. Self-care is community care. We must take care of ourselves in order to show up fully and intentionally in our communities. So, as you can kind of see here, this let us always remember it really is cyclical, it works together. And self care as community care is major to me, especially as a self care facilitator. Um, there is absolutely no way that we can be full and rested and happy and nourished, right? If we are completely exhausting all of our resources on the external. So, in order to be a good student, in order to be a good friend, a good partner, in order to be a good activist in our communities, we have to take care of ourselves. Yes, all that other stuff is absolutely important, but also, yes, so is your self care practice. And that doesn't have to look expensive. It doesn't have to look like a face mask. It doesn't have to look like a bubble bath. It can simply look like you pausing, taking a minute, penciling yourself in. You pencil in homework, you pencil in volunteer work, you pencil in your jobs. Um, I also think it's important that we are putting at least 5 to 10 minutes a day in our calendars just for ourselves, just to reconnect with our breath and get back into our body and to slow down. We don't have enough people telling us to slow down and to take a minute and to take a beat and to pause. And I want to be the first person to say right now, especially during everything that we're going through with COVID and the uprisings, is that in order to take care of ourselves, in order to take care of our community, we have to link that together. We have to work together to do that. And it requires self-care practice. Absolutely. Hydrate, eat well, deep breathe, stretch, dance, laugh, move your body, get into a space where you feel supported, and also find moments of stillness. Self care is so broad and it can look so different for each of us. So, I want to encourage you here to figure out what your self care is for yourself and what your self care is for your community. Okay? Moving on, we have time won't stop if you pace yourself. And with so much happening, with so much work to be done, with goals to meet, with intentions to set, yes, I know it feels like time has wings and it's fluttering by, or maybe even like lightning bolts speeding by, right? It also won't hurt us or the universe or our schoolwork or our relationships if we pace ourselves and take our time and plan accordingly. So don't rush, don't overdo it. And when you find that, okay, I have crunch time, I have deadlines, I have this, I have that, make sure that you're putting it down and that you're showing up mindfully and intentionally in that practice. I know that it sounds super kind of woo woo sometimes, this whole mindful work and self care work, but it's truly important that we learn how to balance our time and balance ourselves and harmonize everything that encompasses our time and energy so that we don't burn out. Burning out is not helpful for anything, any goal, or anyone. Okay? Lastly, taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. And I'm just going to let that sit there because I know that folks say, you know, self care isn't selfish and all of that. It's very trendy. But I want you to sit with these words and think about what they mean for you in your life and how they are necessary. Before we dive into the prompts and the remainder of this PDF, I want you to remember this quote and hold it close. It's by Audre Lorde. You've probably seen it. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. If you have your journals by you, I would definitely suggest you write these journal prompts down. Yes, you can print out this PDF and you can also, look at the screen and then write down in your journal. But I think it's important to create the writing practice of What is the question? Writing the question down. What is the answer? Writing the answer down. Really connecting back to our roots of pen and paper. Okay. I'm going to read through these and I'll give you some thought starters in case they seem vague or feel a little distant from the work that you're currently doing. What intentions do you have for this year? It has been a heavy year, we all know, but I really want you to think about what you intend to do for the remainder of this year and as we move into 2021. What goals do you have for yourself academically? What goals do you have for yourself personally? What intentions? How do you want to show up fully and honestly and openly in your life and in your life's work? How can you make more time for yourself? What days can you pencil yourself in? So I just mentioned penciling ourselves in. I think this is something super important, and pick 1 or 2 days a week that is your time in between classes, in between socializing, and it just being your moment to decompress, to lean in, to get quiet, to take a break from the outside world and everything else that's going on that, yes, needs to be done, but also, remember, pacing ourselves. Okay? Where can you do that? Maybe it's a Monday, or maybe if Mondays are your busy days, maybe it's midweek, maybe it's Wednesday, and you have an hour free. What are you going to do? Maybe you're going to go for a walk. Maybe you're going to do yoga. Maybe you're going to take a nap because rest is absolutely important and also an act of resistance and political warfare, as Miss Audre Lorde mentioned. So think about this, commit to it, put it in your calendar, and get it done. Okay? Where do you need more consistency and boundaries? I feel like boundaries has been the word of the the year and some. How do you need more consistency and more boundaries? And where do you need them? So I think it's important to figure out what works for you and what doesn't, and go from there. So I would even put a extra little dash underneath that question that says what is working and what is not, and go from there. What have you learned about yourself over the years? A thought starter here would be think about habits, good and bad. Maybe you're not very good at setting boundaries for yourself, and you're really, really struggling with how to maneuver certain relationships or how to speak up for yourself, right? Maybe you're super good at communication, but it feels kind of challenging to speak up and name what you need. Here, just list the things. You can even, I don't really like saying good and bad. I know that's on the slide, but just for ease sake, I put good and bad, but I would even suggest changing the language here and making a column that says easeful and a column that says challenging, just so it's a little bit more accessible to know that it's not necessarily good and it's not necessarily bad, but it can be challenging. Or in this situation, I have ease and it feels like I'm in flow. It feels good in my body. It feels good in my life's work. Okay, so I want to give that nudge there and also just some redirection of language as you're working through this on the page. Lastly, list 3 things that help you feel seen, heard, and productive. And I'd love for you to dive into this every week. Maybe it's every Friday, and you look back and said, okay, I felt seen on Monday this way. I felt heard on Wednesday this way. I feel productive on Sundays when okay, those are your thought starters. Or perhaps you do this at the top of the week and just kind of the same flow, figuring out what makes you feel seen, heard, productive, and really at your best. So a lot of these questions, even if they feel kind of surface level, the intention with writing practice is to get curious and to ask yourself why, ask yourself how, get really involved in the self, right? The self-inquiry, the self-awareness, the self-advocacy, and link it all together. Lastly, we have a fun exercise that is normally titled the boundary circle. But for this, I thought it would be awesome to do support circle. And the reason why I thought support circle was fitting here is because so often we are kind of conditioned to do things alone and maybe not ask for help. Or maybe, we were taught to lean into support, but it's hard, it's challenging to name what we need. Um, and I wanted this exercise to make space to do that. Putting things on the page helps us figure out what we're trying to say, right? And it's not just swirling around in our heads. We're not just reaching and pulling for things on the spot. We can have something that we come back to. We can, put it on our journal page. And then when we think, dang, like, who can support me? Who is showing up for me? Who do I need? What supports my goals and intentions? Who supports my goals and intentions? Then we're able to go back and say, oh, I did this writing practice with Alex that one time. I wrote this in my journal. Here are the people, here are the places, here are the things. Okay, so my job as a facilitator is to get you remembering and thinking and writing, and then being able to lean on the things that you put down. So for this exercise, as you can see, we have list the people, places, and things that might distract you from your goals and intentions on the outside of the circle. So anything that's distracting, any folks that are distracting, and this doesn't have to be good or bad either. Maybe that group of friends that you hang with, they're awesome, you love them, but they can be distracting from the goal. Okay, maybe they go on the outside of the circle for now. Or maybe social media is a distraction. When you're trying to get things done, you're trying to set these intentions for yourself, these goals for yourself, but you happen to just kind of lose track whenever you log on to Instagram or TikTok, or maybe you even get um, a little bit overwhelmed from all the advice and the, you know, um, posts and words and thoughts of other people. So maybe that's a distraction. So those are just two very broad general examples. And I want to encourage you here to really think about what distracts you, who distracts you, and go from there. Okay. Now we're moving into the inside of the circle. You can decide to start in or out. There's no right or wrong way to show up on the page. List the people, places, things that are supportive of your goals and intentions inside the circle. So maybe it's a certain friend that's super supportive, or maybe it's a parent, or maybe it's a mentor. Maybe doing your work outside is supportive. Maybe going to a yoga class or a meditation feels supportive. Maybe tea before you get your day started feels supportive, right? There's so many different ways that you can find what feels good in your life. But it is going to take some intentional thought for both of these, the distractions and the support. And remember, this is not a right or wrong type of thing. It's more so, okay, here's what I need. Here's who I need it from. This makes me feel good. This makes me feel kind of off. And move through that. So, we are at the end of this writing practice. Take good care. Please stay in touch. If you need support, if you need clarification, if you want help, I am here. You can find me on Instagram at Alex_Elle. You can find free writing practice resources at alexelle.com/freebies. And of course, you can shoot me an email at selfcare@alexelle.com. I try to get back to folks in a timely manner. So if you need any support, feel free to lean this way.